Welcome into Five Clubs. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday. Golf Channel. And also you can listen. It is PGA Tour Radio. It is Channel 92 on Sirius XM. As you can tell, not in the friendly confines of our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've made my way to southern Indiana, to the French Lick Resort. Behind me is the Pete Dye Golf Course, which is as grand a scale. Now, I was at Landman last week, and it's hard to beat the grandiosity and the size and scale of that place. But this place kind of rivals it here for an underrated event. Of course, Steph Curry's a great vision for junior golf to give these young people, boys and girls, this great platform. So made our way out here, going to be here for July 4th. But we are with you for the next hour. Looking forward to it. Looking forward very much to a conversation with Andrew Novak, who's going to be joining me, and Henni Zuel, who is actually part of the underrated family. She from Sky Sports as well. But this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you, all the great things that they do, not only with respect to their own core businesses, representing so many corporate companies as it pertains to their insurance needs, but when it comes to investing in golf and what they do with the United States Golf Association and the First Tee, Golf Pride, grips. When it comes to grips, the options, the versatility, the durability, the materials that they used, it's why they are trusted by more players from the championship level down to the recreational level. It is Golf Pride. Peter Millar, this Pine Performance hoodie that I am wearing, you can have it. I noticed yesterday that 200 new items were added to the Peter Millar website at petermillar.com. And that is not even the fall line. That's just items to get throughout the summertime. Again, it is petermillar.com. And, of course, the cradle of American golf, Pinehurst and the Pinehurst Resort, with all of the things that they have for you, including that new clubhouse that's going to open very soon at Pinehurst number 10, that golf course that was voted the best new public golf course in America in 2024. This right here is public golf, the Pete Dye Golf Course. This, before we get into kind of what we're going to dive into here on the program, is one of the rare places in America. I've never been here before. That you can play not only a Pete Dye golf course, but a Donald Ross golf course, the only one. And Pete Dye, this property is the kind of place where Pete and Alice Dye showed up and they went, yeah, we can do this. Sure, we'll move 2.5 million cubic yards of material and build you a golf course. We built a golf course in a swamp in Ponte Vedra Beach. We built a golf course what looked like at the end of civilization at the edge of Key Island. We can do this. So it's nice to be here. You know what else is nice? It's nice to know that you're going to play in the final major championship of the season. Yesterday, we kind of teed up. It was midday for Open Championship qualifying that they had at 4 different sites throughout the UK. And they had 20 spots available for roughly 300 players, 5 budgeted per site. So it wasn't based necessarily on world ranking based on the player and the profile of the players at each site. It was 5 per site. So let's take a look at who made it through. And it's interesting, Live Golf had a good day. And I'll get to that in a moment. But you look at the players from each side. Justin Walters was the medalist, a young man from South Africa. Denmark, I tell you what, Jacob Skov Olesen, another player from Denmark. And if you consider the modesty of not only their population, but really their history in the game of golf, they are trending in a very, very good way. Harry Hall, who plays on the PGA Tour, is going to play in his first Open Championship. He was the highest ranked player in the world among all of these sites that was competing yesterday. You see the name Luke Donald. More on him in a moment. He was the medalist at the Dundonald Links site. So you see him. Connor Graham, that was a great story. An amateur from Scotland. Wonderful little video of him hugging his father after he made it through in a 2-for-1 playoff. As we roll it on to the next page and the other 2 sites, Royal St. Ports was the site that you had a lot of the high-profile players, including the Poulters, Ian and his son Luke. Neither one of them, as you can see, made it through. Luke was in good position after 18 holes, but struggled in the afternoon, 18 holes. Dean Burmester from South Africa, another LIV player. He was the medalist there. And then over at West Lancashire, Lucas Herbert, another LIV player. So 3 of the 4 sites, you have LIV players who were the medalists at those respective sites. And you see England, number of players from England made it through, Nathan Kimsey as well. And they're at the bottom. The last name that you see there is Richard Tedder. He is from Estonia. Now, he made it through in a 4-for-2 playoff. And we're going to show you a little video of how he made it through. And consider that Richard Tedder was in good position going into the final hole, his 36th hole of the day. He made a double bogey, which put him all of a sudden, he's trying to get reoriented after just having it in his grasp, and he loses it. So he's got to go into a 4-for-2 playoff. And on the first playoff hole with 3 other guys, we're going to roll this video. He's got a 90, hit a bomb tee shot, had it 90 yards. You see this ball check, struck expertly. He rolls it in for a 2 and makes his way on through. This is a nation that has roughly 10 golf clubs. They have 2 players in the top 2,000 in the official world golf rankings. This is a population, Estonia, of less than 1.8 million people. But this young man actually made it through to the quarterfinals of the amateur championship, the British amateur. So he's got legitimate golf chops. Obviously, he's got chops. He had made it through, and here he is on the doorstep of making it without having to go to a playoff. The one other thing that I would note about that is that in that video, you could see, one other player repairing a ball mark because they were not eliminated. There was another spot available. So those other 3 players had to go on. He, because he made the 2, made it on through. That is the embodiment of qualifying. An amateur who is from I wouldn't even call it necessarily a developing nation when it comes to the game of golf. The modesty of the profile of Estonia in terms of golf, it's as modest as it could be almost. And here is this young man making his way through. You can count on the fact that Richard Tedder's story is going to be told early in the week. And one note about Open Championship Week as it relates to our programming, we're going to be with you on Monday, July 14th. We're going to actually start an hour earlier at 7 Eastern. We're going to have a 2-hour show for you that day, scheduled to join us, including Rich Lerner, who is obviously the anchor of the primetime window for Live From. And oh, by the way, his colleague on that program, one of them, along with Paul McGinley, is Brandel Chamblee. Happy birthday to Brandel Chamblee, the junior senator from the great state of Arizona, celebrating his birthday. And they could put 150 candles on that cake. He's in his early 60s, I believe, but he could blow them all out because he is a professional gas bag. And I couldn't mean that in the more complimentary, loving way. Good friend. Happy birthday to Brandel Chamblee. But anyway, Brandel and Rich going to join me on that day. We're also going to have a number of other guests who are going to be with me as well. So 7 to 9 on July 14th. And so Richard Tedder's story is going to be told. And the other story I think that's interesting out of yesterday, in addition to the fact that Live Golf, and I will say this, but Live Golf should have had a good day, because if you look at, generally speaking, the profile of the players who were in final qualifying for the Open Championship, in addition to Lee Westwood, who made it through, who was the medalist at his site, Lucas Herbert is a world-class player, and Dean Burmester is a world-class player, and so are some of the other guys from Live. But to their credit, those guys were playing in Texas over the weekend, made it there. I know one guy, I think it was Lucas Herbert, who by the time he got to his qualifying site, it was so late in the evening that he was trying to just hit any balls that he could. The range was closed. He apparently went down to the beach with an 8-iron just to hit some shots and got up the next morning and went out and was the medalist at his site. But I just want to say a few things about Lee Westwood, because you start thinking about, and I think this is one of the great discussions, debates, conversations you can have, who is the best player, whether it be modern era, all time, in terms of what they accomplished in the game, but yet they didn't win a major championship. And there's no doubt among the short list of players in the modern era, if you want to go back and if you want to look at all time, McDonald Smith, who won 25 times, Bill Melhorn, Harry Lighthorse Cooper. Harry Lighthorse Cooper had 4 seconds in majors and didn't win one, and he had 30 wins on the PGA Tour. Bill Melhorn, same thing. Doug Sanders won 20 times. Now we're getting into the modern era, and then you get to guys like Bruce Crampton. Bruce Crampton had 4 seconds in majors. He won 14 times on the PGA Tour. His 4 seconds in those majors, you know who won all 4? You know who. Nicklaus. Of course he did. Bruce Litsky, he would certainly be on that short list. Colin Montgomery is in the World Golf Hall of Fame. Never won on the PGA Tour, but obviously he's got 8 orders of merit. He won the Order of Merit 8 times, won 31 times on the DP World Tour. But Lee Westwood, and oh, by the way, Lee Westwood finished tied for 4th at the Open Championship in 2019 at Royal Portrush, 52 years of age. His last start in the Open Championship was 2022 at the Old Course. So that will be a story of which there are 156 of them. You know, one of the stories, Andrew Novak, because he will be playing in his first Open Championship. He's going to be joining me when we continue here because it's a breakout season for somebody who, when you look at where he played college golf, in terms of his development and his progress, and now he has not only found his footing on the PGA Tour, he has a chance, legit, to be on the United States Ryder Cup team. A lengthy discussion with him about his year, about winning for the first time in a team competition, and about the National Football League, because he can talk it. So he's going to join me next, Henni Zuel, a little bit later on, to talk about some of those qualifying stories. I am live from French Lick, Indiana, the Pete Dye Golf Course here at the French Lick Resort behind me. It's a Wednesday edition, and oh, by the way, we got our picks for the John Deere, and we got dogs, always on a Wednesday. Nice to have you with us. 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and on PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Back with you right after this. Welcome back in on this Wednesday edition of 5 Clubs. I am in French Lick, Indiana, at the French Lick Resort, the Pete Dye Golf Course right behind me, here for an underrated event. The great vision of Steph Curry to elevate junior golf in a way that really hasn't been seen before. Henni Zuel, who's part of the underrated family, also from Sky Sports. We'll talk some Open Championship qualifying with her a little bit later on. But joining me now, he's 12th in the FedEx Cup standings. He's having a tremendous year. He's 13th in the Ryder Cup standings as well. He leaves Sunday. He'll play the Scottish. Then his first Open Championship start. I'm speaking of Andrew Novak, joining me from his home in Sea Island. Andrew, good morning. Thank you for joining me. How you feeling?
Morning. Thanks for having me on. Feeling much better, having a couple weeks off to rest and recover.
I was thinking about you, thinking, he's got to take some time. You were mentioning to me in the break, you love the John Deere, you hate to miss it. Of course, your partner Ben Griffin, he would play in a one-day member guest between starts. The guy plays, it seems like, every week. I will get to that win in a moment. But let me start with you by going back to last fall, because Bermuda, you shoot 62 on Saturday, and even though it's the end of the year, and so it's not like you teed off at 3 in the afternoon, it's still a position that was newer to you, meaning teeing off at the end of the field late in the day. What was the most memorable and thing that stands up in your mind about having that experience really for the first time in Bermuda last fall?
Yeah, that was a goal of mine for that entire fall stretch, was to basically put myself in contention to win a golf tournament. I hadn't really done that much. I had a decent year last year. Statistically, was very strong, very consistent through the year, but I really didn't have chances to win tournaments. I had a lot of top 15, top 20 finishes, but I never really was in contention. So that was kind of one of the focal points of the fall. And it's Saturday at Bermuda. I finally kind of broke through and had a good, proper Saturday performance to put myself in position. And then Sunday kind of fought through, it was really windy on Sunday, fought through some tough conditions, kind of kept myself right around the lead, and Gave myself a chance there at the end. Just Rafa played really, really well down the stretch.
So you take that experience into the new year and you put yourself right back in that position at the Farmers, and then subsequently you did it again. You mentioned tough conditions. Valero, the final round. That was it was ripping that particular day. Those types of days, in terms of building like an inventory of experiences where like mind and body are cooperating in an environment that is getting maybe more comfortable for you. Do all those things help in cataloging growth and progression?
Yeah, absolutely. At each level I played, like junior golf, college golf, I never was like quick to just jump on the scene and dominate or win or do anything crazy. It's kind of been the same in professional golf. It took me a little bit at Corn Ferry. It's taken me a little bit on the PGA Tour. But as I get experience, as I have, improvements, I can always look back on that. And I think that's what kind of helps me build at every stage I get to. Like, that's where that improvement comes from. And so I kind of felt like the next step I needed to take on the PGA Tour was to put myself in position to win. I didn't necessarily expect to win first time around, or if I did, great. But I just wanted to start maximizing opportunities up there, just so I could get myself comfortable with being there. Just, I guess, for future reference down the road, like it's gonna make it easier the more times I put myself in that position. It's not always going to work out perfect. I thought I played better at Bermuda and Farmers on Sunday than Valero. Valero, I flat out didn't play well on Sunday. But it was still, I think I was more comfortable, like in the final round, Valero versus, maybe the other two. I just wasn't playing well.
And then the Heritage, which again, it's just a couple weeks after, literally, the Valero. I got to believe that you left there, even though look, you're gutted that you didn't break through and win. But I thought you were as sturdy as you had been in that environment. Is that fair?
Yeah, I felt mentally pretty good at Valero. Especially like committing to shots. I think I was really good. I struggled at Valero a lot with like pace of play. It was, obviously it was like super windy, but it was brutal on Sunday, and I did not handle like the slow play very well at all. This was one of the things that like I kind of touched on. So like I felt like the best I played on a Sunday was probably Heritage, and also
Yes.
we won at Zurich. And if you look at those, Heritage was the first time I played in a twosome at the end, because Valero, Farmers, and Bermuda were all played in threes. So pace was slower in those, and I felt like I was able to get much better rhythm at Heritage because just pace of play was better. And then same thing, kind of Zurich, you're playing an alternate shot. That's as fast as you can play, basically. It's a two ball and you can walk ahead. So like the pace was much faster for that as well. And I think, for me, that's probably more advantageous just being a faster player.
The winning is different about being in contention with a partner and format, which is really wonky. You're trying to win a golf tournament and you're hitting every other shot. How discomforting was that, or were you comfortable?
Well, I had Ben with me, so that made it pretty comfortable. Um, just in the sense that he's a really good golfer, but also we've known each other for so long. We're good friends. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of trust there. I feel like I had a lot of confidence in him. I think he had a lot of confidence in me. And so the fact that we were hitting every other shot, I don't think necessarily concerned us. I think we kind of understood like good shots were going to be hit when we weren't hitting them. So I don't know. For us, it seemed to work pretty well.
You mentioned junior golf in college, the PGA Tour. How were you with like your level of belief, and then kind of coupling that with doubt as you were ascending in golf? I mean, when did you feel like this sense of belonging?
I think that's kind of part of what is, I don't know, takes me time at each level. I don't know if I'm like I kind of need to see it a little bit, which I can do eventually. Like as I get more comfortable at a level, I am eventually, going to compete and play well, and then I can be like, okay, I've done this before, and it kind of steamrolls from there. But I do think like one of the things, especially when I went like just made the jump to professional golf, that was kind of one of the bigger things for me. Just playing at a smaller school, I hadn't played very good competition, and just getting reps against some of these better players, and eventually having some success to help show that, okay, I can play with these guys, I do belong here. Like I think that has been like part of the process for taking me the longest to really kind of break through.
And now it's, you've contended so much that people want to talk to you, get your thoughts, and then they find out like, wow, he's candid, he's thoughtful, he's got range to talk about other things, which I want to talk some NFL with you. How is that? Like, because I find, to me, Andrew, I thought Scotty Scheffler said something that was so interesting after he won the PGA. He said, look, I dreamed about doing this my whole life. This part, like sitting in this room, I didn't dream about. That's not part of the dream. The dream is not doing media. The dream is trying to be competitive and win golf tournaments. How about finding that balance and finding comfort with that, like doing things and responding well to the idea that people want your opinion on things?
Yeah, I do think Scotty's right when you think of winning the Masters or think of winning those tournaments. Yeah, it's the final putt going in, and then it kind of just ends, or like putting the green jacket on, or whatever. It's you don't really think about that part, but like realistically, that is what comes with it. If you play good golf, if you win tournaments, people want to talk to you. People want to hear your opinions on things. If that's the price for playing good golf, I'll happily pay it. I don't mind talking to the media. So far, they've been pretty good to me for the most part. I haven't run into some of these issues maybe that some guys have, but I haven't had as much experience yet with the media like that. So I don't know. I don't mind speaking my mind, really, if people want to talk to me. I don't know. I'm just a dude. I happen to be good at golf, but I'm just a dude. I like sports. I like other things, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Have you seen the Ryder Cup tailor? Have you been fitted for clothing?
I think they brought a lot of guys in for that. Yeah.
Okay, so the answer is yes. They have your measurements. What is that? What is that like in terms of whether it's reading something, hearing people say that Andrew's now on Keegan Bradley's radar, or knowing where you are quantitatively in the rankings, as I just alluded to when I brought you on, you're 13th in the standings. That's new. Is that something that is distracting or something that is confidence building?
I'd say more than anything, it's motivating for me. It's something when they had announced Beth Page a while back. I don't know how many years ago. I saw that, and I remember specifically just to play in that atmosphere with the New York fans would be awesome. It's been a long time building since then. Like I might have still been in college when I saw that, but definitely like coming into this year, that was a huge motivating factor for me, just to try and play well. Obviously, with how the last Ryder Cup went, like this is a big Ryder Cup for the U.S. We have to defend our home turf. You can't let Europeans come in the New York area specifically and take one from us. So this is a big year. We have to defend, and I do want to be a part of that.
You mentioned the New York fans. You mentioned the Carolina Panther jersey. Not a lot of guys on the PGA Tour who are Panther fans. Webb Simpson certainly is. All the Carolina guys are. What I was struck by was the number, the jersey that you were wearing. I covered the team for 10 years, did their preseason TV package, play-by-play for 3 seasons. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's got to be Jeremy Chin. Is that a Jeremy Chin jersey?
That was a Jeremy Chin jersey. there have been a few 21s. Was Biaka Batuka 21 when he got drafted?
Okay, Andrew, now you got me.
All right.
Because I'm saying to the folks that I'm with here, I said there's no way. Andrew was probably 5 years old when Tumanga Biaka Batuka was running the football for the Carolina Panthers. That's impressive.
Yeah. He was, that would have been a while ago. I would have been very young. He was probably around 2000. 90s. I had the first Panthers jersey I had for you. I had a Lamar Lathan jersey. So that's how far back we're going. Yeah.
All right. So let me get your thoughts. Let's start with the draft. I heard you at the Travelers going through some teams. You were mentioning the Patriots, and I think you're kind of bullish on them maybe making a jump this year. How about Carolina's draft and kind of where you see them this year in a division that historically, as you know, every year somebody else wins the division?
Yeah, it's a pretty open division in my eyes. I don't think, I would imagine the Buccaneers are still kind of the favorite. The Falcons are a bit of a question mark. I think generally people think the Saints are going to be quite bad. So I don't know. It's there for the taking. If the progression continues from the end of last year, the Panthers could be very, very good.
All right,
they drafted
that you think
wide receiver, defense.
Yeah. Give me, Andrew, your three teams in the league that you think are going to make a jump this year. Maybe because historically, there's usually between 4 and 5 teams that were not playoff teams the previous year that are, this, that get into the playoffs the following year. Give me 3 teams that were non-playoff teams last year who are getting in this year.
Let's go Patriots. On the NFC side, I will go Bears. Feel not super confident about that. And then I don't know if they make the playoffs or not, but I'm calling the Titans to make a pretty good jump this year as well.
Okay. Here are the 4 teams I have written down. I have the Pats. I have the Bears. I have Seattle. And then I think, again, the AFC South reminds me a lot of the NFC South. It's just, a lot of teams that hover around 500. I think Jacksonville, I think they just bottomed out. They would be my other one. All right, let me get you out of here with 5 quick questions to go here with Andrew Novak. Being a guy who resides at Sea Island, you got a million guys to play with. Who is the best gambler on Sea Island? Doesn't have to be a professional.
Best gambler?
Yes.
I don't know about best gambler, but the guy's money that feels the best taking is Patton.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He does not like to give up money, so taking money off Patton feels real good.
All right. Who is the most knowledgeable sports fan on the PGA Tour?
Besides me?
Yes.
I don't know. I think Jordan's got it in there. I haven't spent a ton of time with him, but it seems like he knows what he's talking about.
I'm with you. He is not. It's not surface talk with him. If you talk to him specifically, if you talk Cowboys or Mavericks or Rangers, now I haven't talked Texas Rangers with him much, but I'm with you. And I think he knows Texas football. I think that's a reasonable pick. All right, give me the movie that it's either 30 minutes in or 30 minutes to go that you'll watch it.
Oh, man. Kind of depends on the mood, I guess. But, I don't know. If I see Step Brothers on, I'm probably not leaving the couch.
Okay. The best player dining on tour, non-majors.
Well, maybe this is cheating, but probably players. They do so good with that tournament.
Okay. All right. Last thing, because you play a lot of fantasy football and it allows you to be really educated on the league. Keeper League, the player you will draft that you will own for the next 3 seasons, who you would pick number 1 overall, who would it be?
Oh, well, for taking number 1 overall this year, I think it's Jamar Chase for sure. But if you want me to,
you got to have him for 3 seasons.
If you want me to grab a guy right now that I think is going to have some staying power, I'm not taking him first overall, but grab Amari Hampton from the Chargers. That's an offense that's only going to progress. They've got a lot of good young players. Justin Herbert's a real deal. There's nothing like that offense should be good every year for the next 3 years. They have a good quarterback. They have a good offensive line. Harbaugh is going to build that team around a physical run game. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed to have like a solid, like, probably top 12 to 15 running back for the next like 3 years. And
all right, that first one,
potential to be a top 5 guy.
I love that because you just picked a Carolina running back who, again, they rely on the run. He was tremendous in an offense, especially last year. No, he does. Let me ask you this before I let you go. You left Raleigh when you were 7. Do you have an affinity or did you like North Carolina athletics? Did you like Duke or did you dislike Duke?
Yeah, so my mom went to grad school at Duke, so we did have a Duke connection, but I am actually a Miami Hurricanes fan, diehard, big time.
Wow.
So,
where did that start and why?
I think because we didn't have any, like, my parents went to smaller schools initially, and they had no, like, team that I had to really root for college, and I had nobody to, like, choose, and it was 2000, and they were the best team, and they were always on TV, you know. Back then, there were only a few channels, and there were only a few games on TV each week, so the team that was number 1 in the country got put on TV, so I got to watch Miami most weeks. And
let me tell you something. If you think there were only a couple of channels in 2000, you should have been watching sports in the mid-'80s when I was your age. When you were 10 years old, you had a lot more offerings than I did. Listen, I appreciate you doing this. Safe travels over the Scottish at the Renaissance Club next week, and then your first Open Championship at Royal Portrush. I know you're excited about that. You got a lot of things to play for throughout the playoffs. I mentioned your standing in the FedEx Cup. You're so deeply embedded. Your world ranking as it relates to end of the year, Masters invitation, all that stuff. You're having a hell of a year. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You bet. There is Andrew Novak. I mentioned, his standing. He is legitimately, if you, and it's amazing to think that, and he was, there's no doubt, when Bethpage was announced, it's most certain that he was in college because he's 30 now, and that was announced. I'm certain it was 10 years ago that they made that announcement. All right, we're going to take a break. We continue with you here on this Wednesday edition. We got dogs. We got our picks. More to do here. I am in French Lick, Indiana, the French Lick Resort at the Pete Dye Golf Course. I'm here for an underrated event. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and on PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Back with you right after this. Welcome back in. It is a Wednesday edition here of 5 Clubs. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. They have been refining performance, luxury, and style. They've got you covered at Peter Millar. Joining me now is somebody who could be here, literally with me right now. I was with her last week. She, of course, was Sky Sports, but also a big part of Steph Curry's underrated tour as an ambassador, advancing the name and the mission, particularly around the world. She has been very, very central to cultivating the talent from the European community for these events that we've had. We had one in London a little bit over a month ago. We'll be back in Scotland in the month of August. I'm speaking of Henni Zuel. I was with her last week in Colorado Springs. We're going to talk some Open Championship qualifying. But Henni, let me start because last week you and I, as golfers do, we're sitting there. We're not on the range. We're just sitting there talking. We start talking about swing tips. And I mentioned to you a swing tip that I got from Justin Rose many years ago in New Orleans about feeling pressure on the inside of your right hip flexor when you take the club back. And you're like, you started doing it, and you're like, I like that, the way that feels. Have you tried to employ that in any way since you've gotten home?
I have. Gary, firstly, it's an absolute pleasure to be joining you here on the show. I'm delighted. I'm very sad that I'm not there with you in person. But that first question that you asked me is borderline going to have me standing up here in my kitchen doing rehearsal swings. After you gave me that tip, myself and Rob Roxburgh, who we also work with at Underrated Tour, went straight to the driving range with a borrowed 7-iron. It worked beautifully. My divot pattern was great. It creates this wonderful downward force. I'm really going to nerd out here. But I typically sway off the golf ball. So if you're watching this and you too struggle with swaying off the golf ball, feeling the pressure on the inner right-hand side of your right thigh is an absolute gold nugget of a swing tip. It lasted 3 years for Gary.
Yes.
And I believe it's going to be the same for me because I took it out yesterday, Gary, at Woking Golf Club, which is a really old but stunning, tight with heather golf club. And I hit it dead straight. And this is someone who had a really, really repugnant double miss going on. And now, thanks to you, I've hit it straight. So not only are you my colleague and esteemed friend, but also my swing coach now too.
Well, and again, 1 degree of separation from Justin Rose, one of the great English players in the modern era. Another one, Lee Westwood. So let's get with you to some of the stories from yesterday's final qualifying for the Open Championship. Let's start with Lee, 52 years of age. What is the kind of the affection for him in the European community, specifically in the UK, as somebody who was so agonizingly close for so long, 10 times on the Ryder Cup? Is he as beloved as I would assume he is?
It's a really interesting segue that you make from Justin Rose to Lee Westwood, because of course Justin Rose qualified for the Open Championship last year and very nearly got the W. So in terms of what that would mean qualify, if you know nothing about Open qualifying, there's 4 different spots for final qualifying, 4 field sizes. So there's a lot of, it's pretty much like a DP World Tour event when you're looking at the entries. There's a lot of guys that come over from Live as well. And yeah, I think for the British fans, when you think about the Open Championship and going to watch it, you are going to watch, yes, you want to see some of the up and coming young players, but this is such a core golf fan base, and a lot of them have been watching players like Sir Nick Faldo, like Justin Rose, and when he first played in the Open, and of course Lee Westwood. They've pretty much watched him for his whole career. As you know, the UK and Ireland is quite small, so there's lots of opportunities and chances for people, fans, to go and watch their favourite golfers. Whether that's the British Masters or the Open Championship, there is an abundance of opportunities. And so a lot of the fans that are there, it feels like, you know, you'll see so many players that go, I've watched you when you were 15 years old. I watched you in amateur tournaments. I watched you when you were 25. I watched you win this. I watched you at this Ryder Cup. So yes, in answer to your question, Lee is a beloved British golfer that the fans will relish being able to see him compete in an Open Championship. It means a lot to the fans, but it also means the absolute world to Lee Westwood, because for a British player, it doesn't matter what you've achieved or what tour you play on or how old you are, playing in the Open Championship is what you have the 5-foot putts for growing up. This is to play in the Open. This is to win the Open. It really does mean that much. And again, to my point about that British fan base, for someone like Lee to be able to play in front of his home fans and family and friends that will travel from England to Northern Ireland to go and watch him, they don't get an opportunity really to watch him that often, because on Live especially, the travel is quite far-ranging. It's pretty much long-haul destinations for the most part. So yes, it will mean an awful lot to both the fans and to Lee as well. And there was some pretty fun storylines coming out of final qualifying yesterday as well. I don't know if you saw the first Estonian golfer to ever compete in the Open hold out from about 25 yards of the chip shot and had the most phenomenal celebration. If you haven't seen it, please go to YouTube or social media. It's all over social media this morning, and check it out, because that is a very heartwarming story. But there's a lot of stories of players from different tours, from Live Tour, who need to be able to play in majors to keep their world rankings up, especially as we look into next year as well and major qualifications. And yeah, I really enjoy final qualifying and seeing some of the little storylines that pop through.
Yeah, you mentioned Richard Tedder, and we actually showed the video of the young man from Estonia who was a quarter finalist in the amateur championship. For people who don't, British Amateur Championship. tremendous story. Henni, I wish we had more time. You and I will spend more time together soon enough. And as I mentioned, I wish you were here in French Lick, Indiana, for the second underrated event here in the United States. But I will see you soon enough. Thank you for taking a few minutes.
Thanks so much, Gary. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you soon.
Okay, there is Henni Zuel, Sky Sports, and again, as I mentioned, an ambassador for the Underrated Tour where I am. When we come back, we got dogs, we got picks. Before we are done for our week here, 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and also Channel 92 on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with you right after this. It should make you smile. They all do. That's why we celebrate them every Wednesday here on the program. Dogs of the Week, this segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to grips and options and durability and quality, there is nothing better than the line of grips that Golf Pride provides. That's why they're trusted by more players, not even close, than any other grip company in the world. Dogs, we want your dog. If you have a dog that has some type of relationship with the game of golf, send it to us. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com. Let's get to our dogs. We're going to celebrate 4th of July week, and we start with Hugo. Hugo is a Cocker Spaniel. That is Archer Field in North Berwick, Scotland. Derek Cleland is the owner. Very few places better than that spot right there. That is Howie. Jennifer Shadaman is the owner. Howie's a Scottish Terrier. That is the putting green at Walla Walla Country Club in Walla Walla, Washington. That is Tank. Tank is a French Bulldog riding on the cart there on a rainy day at Charbonneau Golf Club in Wilsonville, Oregon. Terry Raz, the owner. That is Lucy, a 5-year-old Aussie Doodle. Her owner, Chris Mulhop. Chris is in the industry of golf. He represents the #1 player in the world on the women's side. And finally, that is Piglet. Doesn't look like one. Piglet is a 2-year-old black-mouthed cur helping out around the golf course. Mike Bird is the owner, the assistant superintendent at Green Harbor Golf Club in Marshfield, Massachusetts. That is one sturdy animal. Send in your dogs. We got a lot of dogs that we've got an inventory, but believe me, we'll get to every single dog that gets sent to us. The email is dogs@5clubsgolf.com. I can't think of anything better than being out on this property with the dog late in the day. That's why they're God's creatures. All right, let's get to our picks because the John Deere, which it's perfect that the John Deere is around the 4th of July, right in the heartland of America in Moline, Illinois. And our standings, Taylor Zarzour is leading. He got a little bit of a bump last week. I think he was the only player who had somebody in the top 10. He had Colin Morikawa. So he's got about a $2 million, just right at $2 million over Johnson Wagner, then Emma, myself. Gil Hanse is in a rut. Since he couldn't pick Scotty Scheffler anymore, I believe he's missed 5 of 8 cuts. He's got a day job. And there's Jay, and then Brendan Young continuing one of the most dreadful seasons we've ever seen. And we've only been doing this show for 6 months. But whether we've been doing this show for 6 months or 60 years, he has been downright awful. All right, let's get to our picks for this week for the John Deere. I'm taking Denny McCarthy and Gil. I don't know if he saw my pick, but Denny McCarthy, 3 straight top 10s at this event, 6th, 6th, and 7th. And he falls right in line with guys, the profile of players breaking through and winning for the first time. By the way, he was also 12th at the Travelers his last start. Jason Day for Emma. Lucas Glover, a past champion for Taylor. Michael Torbjornsen for Johnson and Brendan. I swear, Brendan puts his pick in right after Johnson, and he always picks the same guy. At least he has, since Johnson hasn't been picking particularly well. And then Jay Bill is picking the Tar Heel, Ben Griffin, who is playing for the 23rd time this season, right at the top of the list for the most of anybody in terms of starts on the PGA Tour. And Ben Griffin, like Andrew Novak, who was on this program a little bit earlier, Ben Griffin higher up in the Ryder Cup standings. It would be no surprise on my part if both those guys were on the United States team. And why wouldn't they be paired together? And the truth is that rookies have fared exceptionally well. One last thing I want to say about the John Deere. The John Deere, we were talking yesterday with Brendan Porath about scheduling on the PGA Tour. The John Deere, has carved out a great space. And for a lot of players, the elite players, they don't necessarily show up there. But consider the fact that the likes of Sepp Straka, it was his second win on the PGA Tour, but Bryson DeChambeau, his first win on the PGA Tour was the John Deere in 2017. Jordan Spieth, his first win on the PGA Tour was 2013. He went back and won the event again in 2015. Denny McCarthy kind of fits that profile. Of course, we know that the likes of Zach Johnson and Steve Stricker have had great success. Let me just say this on behalf of all of us here at Five Club Signature Sports Group. We hope everybody out there has a fantastic 4th of July weekend. We're back with you next Monday. Have a wonderful, great American holiday. See ya.